Today, we're diving into a really big shift happening in the business world. How the HR department is evolving from, a back office function into a core strategic partner that actually helps drive success. Let's get right into it.
This question really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? For so long, the role of HR felt, well, disconnected from the main mission of the business. So has that really changed? And if it has, how?
An island unto itself just perfectly captures the old model. For years, HR was seen as this purely operational department. It handled payroll, it made sure everyone was compliant, it managed hiring and firing, all super important things, but very tactical, very reactive, and totally separate from the big picture strategy being discussed in the boardroom. And you can really see that journey laid out here. It started with personnel and administration, which was just about the tactics. Then, right around the turn of the century, this big shift happened, and we started to talk about human resources. But today, the whole conversation has moved again to what we call strategic human resource management, which is all about aligning your people with the core strategy of the business itself. Okay, so how do you actually build a bridge from that isolated island to the mainland of the business? Well, the answer is in a framework called Strategic Human Resource Management, or SHRM for short. What's so interesting here is how clearly this chart lays out the difference. Traditional HR reacts, strategic HR plans ahead. Traditional HR is tactical, strategic HR is, well, strategic. But the biggest shift for me is right here, viewing people not as a cost you have to minimize, but as a strategic asset, your human capital, that you can actually invest in and grow over time. And here's the more official definition. Now, the key phrases to latch onto are linking with strategic goals and improve business performance. See, SHRM isn't just about making employees happy for the sake of it. It's about deliberately building a workforce that has the exact skills and behaviors needed to crush the organization's most important goals. This quote just says it all, right? It's the whole philosophy behind SHRM. It's this recognition that your machines, your tech, your capital, they're all just tools. It's the people, your employees, who are the real engine. They're the ones creating value and moving the whole organization forward. All right, so that's all the theory. But what happens when a company actually does this? What's the real-world payoff when you get HR right and make it truly strategic? Well, the first and probably most important benefit is a massive competitive advantage. I mean, think about it. Your rivals can pretty easily copy your products or your technology. But what makes a company like Toyota so dominant? It's their deep, deep investment in their people, their human capital. That ability to build, keep, and motivate the right people is a unique advantage that competitors just can't easily replicate.
And that advantage doesn't just stay inside the company walls. When you have a superior workforce that's consistently performing at a high level, that translates directly into market power. It's what gives the big players the ability to set the standards and really shape their entire industry.
A strategic approach to HR also creates the right kind of culture, one that's actually built for today's economy. It creates an environment where innovation isn't just some buzzword on a poster, but a real core behavior. And that makes the whole organization way more flexible and able to adapt to whatever comes next. And that leads right into the final benefit, being future ready. I mean, think about the huge disruptions we've seen, like the pandemic or the sudden explosion of AI. Nobody saw those coming perfectly. But the companies that had strategic HR in place were just better prepared because they had already built a resilient, adaptable, and highly skilled workforce that was ready to tackle that kind of uncertainty. Now, if all these benefits are so obvious, why isn't every single company operating this way? Well, the truth is, implementing SHRM is actually pretty complex, and there are some very common and very real barriers that tend to get in the way. And this slide lists some of the big ones. You've got practical stuff, like not having enough time or money, and then you have the human element, like people just being resistant to change. But honestly, one of the biggest hurdles is often right at the very top. A lack of real commitment from senior leadership, who might still see HR through that old tactical lens. Which brings us to this really critical question you can ask about your own organization. Is HR seen as a department whose main job is to cut costs and keep the company out of trouble? Or is it seen as a partner whose main job is to build value by developing the company's most important asset, its people? The answer to that question tells you pretty much everything you need to know. So let's wrap this all up. Let's look at the actual journey that an HR department has to take to get from just managing processes to becoming a real, true strategic partner. It really happens in about 4 stages.
First, HR has to nail the basics and become an expert at the administrative stuff. Then, it has to break out of its silo and actually integrate with the rest of the business. The third step is crucial, getting a seat at the table when the company is doing its strategic planning. And finally, it has to prove its worth by becoming a value creator, showing a real, measurable impact on performance.
So at the end of the day, strategic human resource management isn't just a new label for the same old HR. It's a fundamental redefinition of the entire function. It's a total shift in focus, from simply managing people to actively building the business through them. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. In the world of finance, you would never, ever manage your most valuable asset without a clear strategy to make it grow, to make it appreciate. The exact same logic applies to your people. The only question is, are you investing in them strategically?